Hello friends, welcome to your channel RU Geomatics. Today we will study the remaining sources of error which we have not covered in the previous lecture. So mainly there are other two sources of errors which occur the um errors into the GPS calculation. So sixth one was the clock inaccuracies and rounding errors. As we know that satellite clocks are very precise more than the GPS clocks, receivers clocks. So they have to be synchronized to decode the signal and find out the distance between them. So we also take a time component and an extra satellite to find out our 3D positioning. But by synchronizing these two clocks, receiver clock and satellite clock, there is an error that has to be occurred, and the remaining inaccuracy of the time still leads. So there are clock inaccuracy error about 2 meter in the position determination, and after clock inaccuracy there is another error which is similar to the clock inaccuracy, which is known as the rounding errors. And this rounding and calculation error, because we have to calculate our position and the distance between the GPS receiver and satellites, it must be very accurate and very precise. So by rounding the large quantity, there is an error, and which causes error approximately up to 1 meter in the position determination. After that, another sources of error is the relativistic effect, and it is related to the theory of relativity which was given by the Albert Einstein. And we already know that time is a very relevant factor in the GPS navigation, and it must be very accurate, which will lie into the 20 to 30 nanosecond accuracy. So therefore the fast moving of satellite themselves, which revolves around 12,000 or move around 12,000 kilometer per hour speed, so it must be considered in that. And we already know that what is the theory of relativity. It has a concept that you must know the time runs slower during very fast movement. As we know that the satellites move with a high speed, and earth also rotate with very high speed. So and time is inversely proportional to the velocity, because we know that distance is divided by the time is equal to the speed of light, or velocity. If velocity is high and distance is constant, so time must be slower, and velocity and time are inversely proportional. Similarly, it is known as the theory of relativity, because time runs slower during very fast movements. For satellites moving with a speed of 3874 meter per second, or approximately 12,000 km per hour, clocks run slower when viewed from Earth. So there is a variation between satellites and Earth rotation. So clocks run very slower when we view from the Earth, and this relativistic time dilation leads to an inaccuracy of time of approximately 7.2 microsecond per day. So this inaccuracy causes the error into the position calculation. So there is another relativistic effect which is known as the Sagnac effect, and it is not considered for routine position determination because it has a very small quantity and very complicated to calculate it. So it depends on the direction of movement, means direction of movement of the earth and the satellites. So it is considered into very special cases. As we want to launch some satellites, then it must be included. So these secondary effects are ignored because it has very small quantity. And what is the errors of the GPS system? Because we know that there are many sources of errors, and we also read about the ionospheric effects. It causes the plus minus 5 meter inaccuracy or error. Second is the shift in the satellite's orbit, means ephemeris data, and it causes the 2.5 meter inaccuracy. Clock errors of the satellite clocks causes 2 meter inaccuracy or error. Multipath effect causes 1 meter error, means plus minus 1 meter, means up to 1 meter error. Similarly, tropospheric effect causes 0.5 meter inaccuracy, and calculation and rounding errors approximately 1 meter inaccuracy. So this is the sources of errors and amount of errors that are occurred into the GPS position calculation. Now there is a summary of this chapter or this unit, second unit. We have covered all the points of the second unit in some lectures, previous lectures. So this is the summary, and we know that GNSS is a radio positioning system, and that includes one or more satellites, constellations. Actually, global navigation satellite system is the constellation of satellites, and it is used to find out the position, velocity, and time information 24 hours anywhere on or near on the Earth's surface. And this GNSS system covers the existing and planned constellations of satellites, so we can easily find out the position across the globe. So we already know that there are GNSS examples such as GPS, GLONASS, BEDO, and Galileo. All other GNSS systems have different group of satellites or constellations of satellites, and they have different inclination, their orbital period, and number of satellites into the orbits. So they have the planned and existing constellation of satellites, and mainly for these four country has global coverage with their GNSS system. And there are many applications of the GNSS, and they also play an important role into the communication methods such as radio or internet. And it has integrated information management and control system with a diverse range of application affecting many parts of the national and regional economies. So GNSS not only helpful for the determination of the position, but it also help in the other application like communication methods and other control integrated information management system. So it has covered globally also, and national and regional economy also affect due to the GNSS system. Now if we comprise GPS with three main segments, means one is the space segment which considers the satellites, second is the control segment which considers the monitoring system and master control station. So these stations are under the control segment, and user segment consists the GPS receivers, means which receive the transmitted signals from the satellites. So GPS and all the GNSS examples comprises these three main components. Now GPS satellites continuously transmit a microwave radio signal composed of two carriers, two codes, and the navigational system. And we know that these two codes and two carriers frequency like L1 and L2, and two codes CYA code and P code, these are used for the distance calculation or pseudo range calculation. And navigation message consider the ephemeris data or orbital information about the satellites. When you switch on the GPS receiver, it automatically picks up the GPS signal that are transmitted through his receiver antenna. Once the receiver acquires the GPS signal, it processes from its inbuilt software. So it automatically decodes the signal. Now the outcome of the signal processing consists the distance to the GPS satellite through the digital codes or known as the pseudorange, as I told you, and the navigation message considers the orbital information or satellite coordinates of the ephemeris data. And if we know the distance from the 3 points relative to our own position that we have to calculate or from unknown position, then we can automatically find out the unknown position from these 3 points, and which is known as the trilateration. So the basic principle of this GPS is the trilateration. Now we have understand the Saginaw effect. It is caused due to the movement of the observer on the Earth surface and movement of the rotation of the Earth or globe. So the variation in the velocity between these two, observer and the Earth rotation, causes the Saginaw effect, and it is very complicated to calculate the error due to Saginaw effect. So we it causes the small amount error, so we ignore it for determining the position calculation. Now Albert Einstein theory of relativity stated that object will move slower and shorten in length from the point of the view of an observer on Earth. And we know that speed is inversely proportional to the time. And Einstein also derived the famous equation E is equal to mc square, which reveals the equivalence of the mass and energy. So this was the very famous equation which were derived by the Albert Einstein. Now GPS satellite transmit two types of radio signals. One is the course acquisition code, second is the P code. And we know that there are two types of positioning service. P code consists the precise positioning service, and CY code consists the standard positioning service. So we have also studied about the sources of errors in this unit, and we have covered the second unit. Now there is a third unit which mainly consists the GPS surveying techniques, which are very important, and we already know that some questions are already asked into the previous years, so we have to study very carefully. In this unit we will study about the GPS survey, their introduction. Now what are the advantages and disadvantages of the GPS surveying over the conventional surveying? Means we use the other surveying methods like tachymetry, traversing, and we can say total station. So on that conventional methods, what are the advantages and disadvantages of this GPS surveying technique? So we will study in this unit. Now third is the GPS navigation versus GPS surveying, because these two are the different things. Surveying is basically used for the determining the 3D coordinates of the unknown points, so we can easily traverse or we can easily survey for our required information. Whereas GPS navigation is the monitoring of the or monitoring the movement of our unknown location or any vehicle. So that is the GPS navigation. We will differentiate these two, GPS navigation and GPS surveying. Now this is the very important topic in this unit, GPS measuring techniques. We will study about the static, rapid static, kinematic, and RTK. This is most important, RTK. So we will also differentiate these two types of technique, because static and RTK techniques are most important for exam purpose. Now another measuring technique is the stop and go, and at the end we will study about the applications of GPS in this unit. As we already know, GPS has many applications. Actually every field uses the GPS. So military purpose, navigation purpose, surveying and mapping, remote sensing and GIS, and for aeroplanes coordinates are there. We can say aviation purpose, uh, environment, geodesy, time measurement, land surveying application. So all these applications we will study in this unit also. So this will be all about the GNSS, but we will study about the third unit. So first of all, we have to know the GPS surveying. We will study about the introduction of GPS surveying. We know that everything has the advancement in the upcoming days, but nowadays GPS surveying technology is very important and rapidly changing, which change the lives of common people, because there are many electronic devices that we can use in the conventional method for surveying, but GPS technology is very require less effort and provide us very accurate coordinates of any point with less effort, but it may be costly from other methods, but accuracy is far better than other conventional methods. So this is the advancement in the surveying techniques. GPS technology we can use GPS surveying to find out the points location or their coordinate information in the acceptable limit of accuracy. And we already know that surveying is a science or technique which in which we can determine the terrestrial or 3D position of any point or their distance or angle between them. So basically we can use GPS surveying because it has extremely productive and advantages over the accuracy of the collected data, and it also does not depend on the skill of the instrument operator. Whereas if we use the total station for surveying, then we have to set up the station with their coordinate information or point of bearing, line bearing. So there we have to require a skilled operator. But in this case, GPS serving technique, we does not require any skill operator because it automatically uh, decode the transmitted signal from the satellite. So it calculate the position automatically. So we can easily find out the advantages and disadvantages of the GPS surveying over the conventional surveying methods. And there are many advantages such as intervisibility between the stations is not necessary. As I had taken the example of total station, then we have to set up this total station onto the known points and their coordinates must be known. So we have to back bearing to a known position, and there are many methods that we can use two known coordinates, or we can use one known coordinate and other is the bearing of the line, known bearing of the line. So intervisibility between the stations is must, from which we have to take on the reading on the unknown points. So intervisibility is must in the conventional method, but in case of uh, GPS surveying, we automatically put up the GPS receiver onto the unknown points, and there is a satellites. Minimum 4 satellites are required to find out the position, 3D position of this unknown points. So there is no need of the intervisibility between stations. Another is the operations are weather independent because GPS uses radio frequencies which has a large wavelength. So they are easily transmitted from the clouds or weather. So they are weather independent. This is also an advantage over the conventional method. Now, because of the generally homogeneous accuracy of the GPS surveying, the survey points are placed wherever they are required and need not to be located at evenly distributed sites to satisfy intervisibility or network geometry. So we have studied about the intervisibility are not necessary in GPS surveying. So we can easily find out the or choose the points anywhere into the field. Means there is no need to distribute evenly, so they can easily be intervisible. But in GPS surveying, we can choose points anywhere into the survey field and we can easily find out the location because satellites are transmitting signal from the space. So this is another advantage over the conventional surveying method. Now GPS can be used round the clock for data logging purposes. Round the clocks are used for data logging. Now GPS provide three-dimensional information for the user point coordinates. Means we can easily find out the XYZ information from the GPS receiver. So other advantages are high accuracy. So this is the very important. High accuracy can be achieved with relatively less effort. Means in GPS surveying technique, it provides us very accurate and precise location information than other conventional methods, and it requires less effort also. Means we can say it does not require any skill operator, and this GPS surveying is most efficient, more flexible and less time consuming because not requiring intervisibility of a station and network independent site selection process, and also it does not require any skill operator. So it is more flexible, more efficient and less time consuming. It also provides the high accurate position with high accuracy. So there are many advantages of GPS surveying, but it also has some limitations or some disadvantages. As GPS surveying does not require intervisibility between the stations, but it require visibility from the satellites. So this GPS cannot tolerate sky obstruction, means they are overhanging structures such as building or other dense forest area. So it requires clear visibility between the satellites and the receiver, or we can say there between their antennas. So if there is any obstruction, we can raise the antenna of the receiver from the above the obstruction, so they can easily calculate their position. But we cannot use it into the underground sites. So it has the limited application in densely settled urban or forest area and the underground sites. So we have to know that there must be clear visibility between the GPS receiver and the satellites. And with the high efficiency, it requires high price, because more the visibility or coordination of the GPS receiver to the satellites provide us the high accuracy. So traveling time between the stations is cut in order to match the savings in on-site time. So we can say that high efficiency require high price. Now GPS is an attractive technology for use in rugged and inhospitable terrain, as station intervisibility is not necessary for GPS surveying. So the logistic problems of transporting and supporting several field parties are still difficult, because if we are taking coordinates or determining the position of a point that lie into the forest, which has clear visibility from the satellites, but their uh, machinery or their parts such as receiver and other technology instruments, their transporting and logistic problems are very high to put up the receiver onto the unknown field. So helicopters may be necessary for surveying. The cost of the survey will definitely rise, so their price also raise. And GPS survey is generally targeted to satisfy a specific survey need, because we want to survey any area, then it must be specific. So for targeting that area, GPS survey is required, and GPS would establish two intervisible stations in order to satisfy the requirement for azimuth data for use by the conventional survey methods. So this is not a disadvantage, but it can be, we can use the GPS surveying technique for two conventional survey methods or 2 points that can be established by the GPS surveying and that are used by the conventional survey method. Now horizontal and vertical coordinates from GPS must be transferred if they are useful for conventional survey applications, because we already studied about the GPS data format, and that must be transformed if we are using that coordinates into the for the conventional survey application. So these 2 points are interrelated. This is not an disadvantage, but second point is a disadvantage. Now GPS receiver require strategy for planning field operations for data collection. Means if we are following GPS surveying technique, then it must be planned, and means of what data has to be collected, along with their different data analysis method to be developed, because we know that there are many GPS surveying measurement techniques. We have studied into the index form, static and rapid kinematic, RTK, real time kinematic, and step and go. So their planning and strategy has to be required for following the GPS surveying. So these all are the disadvantages of the GPS surveying technique. Now we have to study about the GPS navigation versus GPS surveying, because we know that these two terminology are interchangeable, but they are not same. So GPS surveying is mostly used for the traditional function of establishing like geodetic control, supporting engineering construction, cadastral survey, and making the maps. So GPS surveying has different applications, whereas GPS navigation support the safe passage of a vessel or aircraft from the port of departure while underway and to its point of arrival, means which has the movement of any object. Then we are monitoring that object is known as the navigation, and GPS navigation are used has the application into the uh, mostly into the aviation field. So GPS surveying is generally used for the surveying technique like we are surveying for the cadastral purpose or their mapping. Now if we differentiate these two techniques on the basis of their real-time and uh, post-processing data, then for the GPS navigation purpose, real-time absolute position must be high or is very essential. But in case of GPS surveying, post processing of the calculator determined coordinate information can be done for using the GPS surveying. But in case of GPS navigation, real time accuracy is required. So real time absolute positioning aspect of navigation is very essential as opposed to the post process relative positioning characteristic of the GPS surveying. Based on the type of measurement made and the GPS instrument used, GPS surveying receivers are expensive, whereas GPS navigation type receivers are comparatively low cost. So we already know that if you have performed the GPS surveying in your college days, then that instruments or their receivers that are used in the GPS surveying are expensive or uh, bigger in size, whereas GPS navigation receivers are comparatively low cost. You can easily find out this GPS navigation receiver into your mobile phone, smartphone. So they have different types of measurement, and we already studied that real time absolute positioning is required for the navigation purpose. So primary measurement in GPS navigation is the pseudo range or the distance between the receiver and satellite, whereas in case of GPS surveying, it requires a more careful treatment of the biases during the data processing. So the data that are collected by the GPS receiver in the GPS surveying, then that data can be data processed for their accuracy calculation. But in case of GPS navigation, it must be in a relaxed manner or real-time accuracy is required. Now there is a most important topic, which is GPS measuring techniques, and mainly there are 5 measuring GPS measuring techniques. One is the static, second is the rapid static, third is the kinematic, fourth is the real time kinematic RTK, and fifth one is the stop and go. So these are very important measuring techniques for the exam purpose, and all the related information, important information about these measuring techniques are covered. So we start about the first measuring technique, which is known as the static. Static, RTK and stop and go, these three techniques are most important. So first of all is the static measuring technique, and this static measuring GPS measuring technique is used when baseline of the survey line or any survey field has the baseline usually more than 20 kilometer. This is important line, whereas kinematic is used, rapid static is used for the less than 20 kilometer baseline. But this is the feature of the static measuring technique that can be asked in exam, as this has the high or long distance, but their accuracy is high, but they are very slow to perform. This survey offers higher accuracy over long distances but is comparatively slow. And the static survey, one receiver, means how it is operated. In static survey, one receiver is placed on a point whose coordinates are known in the WGS 84 1984 World Geodetic System, and this receiver is known as the reference receiver because it has the known location, and another receiver that are placed on the baseline of unknown points known as the rover receiver. And then or at both the station, data is recorded simultaneously at the same rate. So this is also a DGPS technique, and we already know that there are two types of receivers. One is the reference receiver, which has the known coordinates. Second one, that we move the receiver from to different unknown points to calculate their position, known as the rover receiver. And these stations or these receivers record simultaneously data at the same rate, and this data rate collection rate may be typically set to 15, 30 or 60 seconds in the static technique. And we know that the this time collection rate is generally set up at 15, 30 and 60 seconds, and receiver have to collect the data for a certain length of time, means how much time it is required to place the receiver onto the unknown point. So this length of time generally depends on the number of satellites observed and the satellite geometry, we can say their dilution of precision, and it can be influenced by the length of line. So these three main factors influence the length of time, and as a rule of thumb the observation time is a minimum of 1 hour for 20 kilometer baseline with 5 satellites. So we studied that length of line and number of satellites observed affect the length of time or observation time. So generally for the 20 kilometer baseline with 5 satellites, it must be a minimum of 1 hour. Longer lines require longer observation times. Once enough data has been collected, the receiver can be switched off and the rover receiver can then be moved to next baseline. So after performing or putting the receiver with a minimum observation time, then it collect the data and we can easily switch off the receiver, and another point, unknown point has been chosen to find out the location, then the receiver again put on that point to determine the position. Now what are the steps that are followed into the static survey? So if we see the diagram, first one is the traverse that we have to perform the static surveying technique. In this first step, U, V and Y has the GPS receiver, and this U point has the known coordinate, means WGS84, in the WGS84 known coordinate system, and these three receivers collect the data for the required length of time. After collecting the data, Y, the receiver that was onto the Y moves to the X, and V receiver move to the W. So these two receivers are moved on from Y to X and V to W. So this is the traverse, new traverse data made. And in the second step, the receiver data available on the U are moved to the Y, and W receiver are moved again to the V. After that, this traverse is measured, and in the third step, again this receiver that are available on to the V are moved to the W. So this line is measured. Now finally we have find out the network UVWXY that are measured using the GPS measuring technique. So all this traverse has been measured by performing surveying measuring techniques with the help of three receivers by moving them from one to another point. And we already know that the U has the known coordinate into the WGS84 system. So this is the static technique. Now second technique is the rapid static, and it is generally used for the densifying existing networks and establishing the local control networks. So this is basically performed with higher accuracy on the baseline up to 20 km, means not more than 20 km. So it is much faster than the static technique. And in this type of survey, a reference point is chosen and one or more receiver operator with the respect to it. So it has the same principle as the static surveying technique, and in this rapid static technique, it is performed where no GPS surveying has been taken place. So first of all, we have to observe the number of points whose coordinates are accurately known in the local system, and at least 4 known points on the perimeter of the area or into the survey should be observed. And we know that reference receiver has to be set up onto the known point. If there is no any known point, then we can easily set up this reference receiver anywhere into the network or within the network. After set up the reference receiver. The rover receiver visit each of the unknown points or known points. The length of the time that the receiver rover must observe for at each point is related to the base length. Means what is the length of the baseline? So that length of time depends on the base length and their reference and their GDOP, geometric dilution of precision. As we have studied that length of time can be influenced by the base length and geometric of the satellites, and GDOP means dilution of precision. So it has the similar technique, but it is usually used for the establishing local control networks which has the length up to 20 km, and it has the similar steps as this network has one reference receiver, and from that receiver all the network has to be made. But in case of static, a full network UVWXY has to be measured, but in this case we have to measure the network with reference from the reference receiver, because R is the reference receiver and other are the points on which rover receiver calculate the position. So this network has to be performed in the rapid static. So first step is the network UVWXY has to be measured from reference station R, and other are the points onto the network. So this is the reference receiver, and reference receiver is set up and one rover occupies point U whilst the other rover occupies point W. So this is the second step in which reference receiver has to be set up on R and U and W as the other rover receivers, because we have 3 GPS receivers. One is the reference and 2 are the rover receivers. And after that required length of time, one rover moves to point V and other rover from W has to be moved to point X. So this network has to be measured. Similarly, the rover has to be moved to point Y from the point X. So this line is also measured. So the network with respect to reference in the case of rapid static has to be performed. So it is very fast as compared to the static, because we have seen that we whole network has been considered into the static surveying technique, but in case of rapid static we have to measure or find out the network with respect to the reference receiver. So this was the rapid static technique. Now third one is the kinematic technique. This kinematic technique is used mainly for detail surveying. Means we have to find out the detail of any network, then and recording their trajectory, then we can perform the kinematic surveying technique. So it has the very small baseline onto which we have to perform the kinematic technique. So it gives the very efficient result, or we can say the points that are very close together. We use the kinematic surveying technique, and this technique involves the moving rover whose position can be calculated relative to the reference. Means in case of static, the data are collected and they collect the data and post processing for the accuracy. But in case of kinematic, the rover calculation has been correctified with reference to the reference receiver in real time. So in case of kinematic, the rover has to be perform an initialization process, and it is must in case of kinematic technique. In this initialization process, the reference and rover are switched on and should remain absolutely stationary for 5 to 20 minutes. So this is the initialization process, and it is essential for the same as measuring a rapid static point. So this initialization perform has to be process has to be performed in case of kinematic, and in this process both receiver and both receivers are switched on and should remain absolutely stationary for 5 to 20 minutes. Now after this period, the rover can move freely to the unknown points for their position calculation, and the user can record position at a predefined recording rate, means the length of time, which can record distinct position or record a combination of the two. So this type of measurement is called the kinematic chain, in which we can perform the predefined recording rate, means at what rate they are recording the position information, or we can choose the points that we have to perform the rover receiver for position calculation. So this measurement is known as a kinematic chain. If at any time less than 4 satellites are tracked by the rover receiver, then we have to stop and move into a position where 4 satellites or more satellites are observed from the receiver position. Then we have to perform again initialization process for before continuing. So we have concluded that initialization process in case of kinematic is must to perform this technique. So what are the steps to perform this technique? Step 1 is the initialization, and it is most important process. We have to perform the between these two rover receivers and reference receiver. So first step is uh, keeping these two receivers on the same point for the 5 to 20 minutes, which is initialization. After initialization, reference receiver has to be placed on fixed or unknown points, and rover receiver can be moved to any position which can be at a predefined interval r1. Similarly, rover has to be uh, determine the position at point r2. So rover receiver move with a predefined interval, and it has to perform the position determination, and they are calculating the position of the predefined points with respect to the reference receiver in the kinematic technique. So similarly, there is a most important technique, which is the real-time kinematic technique, in which the reference receiver send the data to the rover receiver. So we can easily achieve the real-time accuracy or real-time uh, position of any point with high accuracy. So this technique is most important because real-time kinematic uses a radio data link to transmit satellite data from the reference to receiver, which enables coordinate to be calculated and displayed also in the real time as the survey is being carried out. Means we cannot perform, or we have not to require perform post processing of this collected of data. In RTK, the real time accurate data we can easily calculate and displayed also. In this technique, the rover receiver receives as the radio link and receives the signal broadcast from the reference receiver. So this rover receiver receives the satellite data directly from the satellites also, and these two data sets of the data are recorded by the rover receiver are processed together at the rover to resolve the ambiguity and therefore obtain a very accurate position relative to the reference receiver. So what is the principle? That this satellite is transmitting the data to the rover receiver, and there is another reference receiver. So it is also transmitting the radio signal, because we know that this is the known points, and it is also calculating his position, 3D position from the observed satellites. So what is the error between the calculated position and the known position? That error has to be uh, transmit to the rover receiver. So these two signals are received by the rover receiver, so it process the data and provide us the real time position with high accuracy. because this is the technique of DGPS in which we have to perform that these two receivers are facing the same atmosphere uh, conditions. So whatever the error lie onto the reference receiver, this error has to be rectified in this uh, rover receiver. So after processing these two direct data and data that are transmitted from the rover reference receiver has been processed, and it provides us the real time position of any point with high accuracy. So this is the basic principle of the real time kinematic. So if it is tracking the satellites and receiving the data from the reference, then it can begin the initialization process. After initialization, the rover can record points from the coordinate data. So in this case, the baseline accuracy occurs up to 5 centimeter range, and it is important to maintain the contact between the reference receiver from the rover receiver, because if they are not contacting, then we cannot perform the processing, or it cannot be sent to the rover receiver. So the contact between the rover means rover receiver and reference receiver is necessary for performing the real-time kinematic measuring technique. Now last one is the fifth technique is the stop and go. It is semi kinematic technique, because kinematic and stop and go techniques perform on the same principle. So it is also known as a semi kinematic GPS surveying technique. As kinematic techniques require no stops at the unknown points, means we have to perform the initialization, then rover receiver are free to move to the unknown points. But in case of stop and go, the stoppage is required onto the unknown points, so it provides us the high accuracy as compared to the kinematic techniques. So this question was asked in the previous previous paper. So you have to keep in mind that stop and go technique provides us high accuracy as compared to kinematic, because if we stop the receiver at the unknown points, then the errors are averaged out. But this stoppage has not occurred into the kinematic technique. So stop and go provide us high accuracy. The survey starts by determining the initial integer ambiguity parameters known as receiver initialization. So it is also important line that receiver initialization is also necessary for the stop and go process. Once the initialization has been performed successfully, the positioning accuracy of centimeter level can be obtained from the stop and go surveying technique. And following initialization, the rover moves to the first unknown point after collecting about 30 seconds of data, and the rover moves without being switched off to the second point. And we have studied that in case of kinematic technique, the receiver can be switched off, but in case of stop and go technique, the rover has not to be switched off before moving to the second point. When we move to the second point, the same procedure has been repeated, and it is the utmost important that at least 4 satellites are to be observed from any point even during the move. Otherwise, the initialization process has to be performed again and reoccupying the previous point. So initialization process in case of kinematic RTK and stop and go is must, but in case of static, initialization process has not been done, and stop and go process surveying technique provides us high accuracy as compared to kinematic. And in case of real-time kinematic, the visibility between the reference or contact between the reference and rover receivers is also necessary. So there are many some important points that we have to keep in mind for exam purpose, and these 5 techniques are very important for exam purpose. If you have any doubt, you can comment us or we will clear that doubt. So if you like this video, you can share with your friends, and we have uploaded a previous year GATE Geomatics 2023 full paper analysis, so you can join us our HG Prime membership to find that videos and do the preparation for GATE Geomatics with the RU Geomatics. Thank you.